I don't have any tats.
Well, I have one. I can show people if they want to see it, but it's basically it's a pinprick on my arm. When I was a little kid, I jumped off of a school bus and I had a pencil in my pocket, and it's permanently marked. I've got this dot where that graphite pencil went thunk right into my skin.
So you can telegraph.
But I'm not opposed to tats. I would have one. I've talked about doing something like, in Greek, bond servant of the Lord Jesus Christ as a strap on my arm or something like that.
Hey friends, my name's Tanner Cartwright. This is Jerry Dorris. We're here for Snake on the Table. What's our snake?
Brother, our snake is where I lost it in this list.
That's a weird question.
Yeah. Oh, are tattoos a good idea?
Uh-huh.
Are tattoos a good idea? Bro, you got us in trouble this last week. On this kind of topic, because let's just put it all together. It's like you had put out a Twitter post about
septum rings.
The septum rings, which are, there's different kinds. There's the big cow, big old. I don't even know how they breathe out of that bad boy. And then there's the dainty ones that women wear, which are called, I think, a perma-booger. Is that right? Perma-booger? That's hard to say.
That's what it looks like.
It is. It's a little different than you got the pin, a little diamond on the side,
on the
side,
stud
on the side.
The septum ring it's in its own category.
So do you think that women who wear those things are what?
I think it's a bad idea. I think my specific post was, ladies, I don't know who told you these were attractive, but they're not. They're disgusting. That got a little bit of traction.
Bro. It wasn't just that got traction. I think it was even more your comments.
Sure. But I didn't make those comments till after. I mean, there was millions and millions of views.
Yeah, I saw it was 27 million.
I stalled at 27 million.
I
stalled out. But yeah, so I had a lot of women commenting, and when I say a lot, we're talking. I think there was like 10,000 there was 20 or 30,000 comments at the end of all of it.
Yeah.
So, and not only comments, but tons of quote tweets with pictures and lots of women. And to be frank, they kind of proved my point.
Yeah.
But posting a lot of pictures and so
people don't realize that. So like when you get pictures, you get like people. I've seen this like some of like Brian Sauvé and other people.
And it wasn't as bad as him.
Though they put in porn, all kinds of stuff in the comments.
I really did.
When you ever talk about
I really didn't have that. Mostly it was face shots with their septum ring.
Right. But there were two ladies that posted there that I took notice of, and then I think your response to them. So one was a lady who in her bio line calls herself a stripper, and you called her a stripper, and then people only saw that you called her a stripper. How dare you say that? But that's actually that's
what she does for a living.
She does that for a living, and you're like, I'm not going to take the opinion of a stripper.
Yeah.
And then the other lady, just as I reviewed her wall, just the photos of herself that she was posting, the content of her post, she had some phallus symbol thing, sucker.
There was more than just one.
Yeah, and you did not want to go very deep in her stuff, and you called her a slut. And this is a topic later. We do have this in here. Calling people names, is that appropriate?
Yeah.
So do you think that all women that wear septum rings are sluts?
No, not necessarily.
But it does telegraph something.
That's why I said not necessarily. Yeah. I do think it telegraphs something.
Yeah.
So the septum ring is a especially rebellious piercing.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Anytime you do something to your face.
Well, but like to your point, a nose stud is very different from a septum ring.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but.
Have you keep talking about it. Have you ever looked up what that's supposed to mean? Is there some symbolism behind that?
The septum ring?
Yeah.
Well, the septum ring is like, for one thing, it's something coming out of your nose, which is just, kind of gross and weird. Like we pointed out, it looks like there's something hanging out of your nose.
Yeah.
But also the septum ring where everyone thinks and knows it from is animals. So pigs they've been putting rings in pigs' noses forever to keep them from rooting.
Yeah.
Or in cows to lead them around. You see it all over in Ethiopia. They'll have a big ring and then they'll just tie a rope to that ring and you'll see a 5-year-old kid leading a bull around by that ring in his nose. And so, that's what I think that's where most people associate. I mean, I literally had thousands and thousands of people just posting pictures of farm animals with, rings in their noses.
Yeah.
So, anyway, my point was, I think it's disgusting. I think a lot of guys agree with me.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to claim it's like demonic or something.
Well, I just looked it up. And there's a couple of different ways. Obviously, it depends on who the person, and people are ignorant, and so they may wear it. But there's a couple of things. One is just rebellion and alternative identity. That's a big one that's listed here. And another one here is feminine empowerment or body autonomy. It's usually, I've only ever really seen it with feminists that would be willing to do something like that. They're making a statement about.
I've never met anybody do that wasn't like in rebellion, like trying to telegraph that they were in rebellion.
So it says daddy issues.
100%. Daddy issues, and I'm going to rebel against the cultural norms.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have purple hair, and I'm going to have a septum ring, and this is who I am.
So, and our topic here is tattoos.
Yeah.
And so tattoos, I think, fit into that as well. They can. And
well,
then they can't. This is one of these things that
you saw. One of my comments was just that meme of the woman that was just covered in tats, big septum ring, piercings all over her face, and she's like, I can't find a job.
Nobody's gonna hire her.
It's like,
what do you expect? You're a barista forever.
Yeah,
you're literally a barista forever.
Even Starbucks doesn't want that level.
Yeah,
even Starbucks has their line. But so anyway, I called the lady a slut because I think it was pretty obvious that she was one.
Yeah.
So
now she claimed different. I just kept reading. She claimed that she wasn't, like she hadn't had sex for 2 years or something stupid like that. Well, you act like you have. You act like you're available. And her actual comment was, "All the men in my life love this," or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
so
like, whoa, how many men do you have in your life?
So that's part of the thing. Like she made a comment, and I was, some comments stand out. Some commenters stand out. So I clicked on her profile and went, and the first thing is, she's got pinned to her post a picture of her that is very suggestive. It's immodest, inappropriate, and then the comments under that are just all these men. I'm talking dozens, maybe scores of men, just like talking about how beautiful she is.
Dogs.
And literally like wood and stuff like that, and she just eating it all up.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have physical sex in order to be a slut.
Right.
Someone that acts like that.
Acts out, puts yourself out like that.
I'm going to post pictures of my body and then engage with random men on the internet about the fact that they would sleep with me.
Yeah.
That's a slut.
Yeah.
And so
there's something about that word.
People don't like it.
They don't like that word.
I guess.
I didn't you grow up with that word. Your mom would call people slut hussies.
My mother would say slut hussy.
Yeah.
About someone that was a loose woman or would dress very immodest.
Yeah. And
it wasn't communicating, oh, she's sleeping with 10 guys. No, it's communicating that she is just
out there
marketing herself.
Yeah, exactly.
With her body.
I think slut hussies is kind of a more of a vulgar, common word. I'm not saying a bad word. I mean, I'm not saying your mom did bad by saying that word, but it's an application of the Proverbs when he says, "Stay away from the harlot. Stay away from. Don't go to." So we can say harlot in our culture, and people go. But if you call the woman a whore or a harlot, you're probably going to get the same type of reaction.
I've had a lot of people tell me they would prefer whore to slut.
Slut is just something.
And I think I really honestly, to be honest with you, think that the reason that it's so offensive is because it's become so prolific. Like it's become so common.
Yeah.
So many women. So I got in trouble years ago. I made a statement online that if a woman acts like a slut online, she is a slut.
Yeah.
And people lost their minds. Because they had a niece or something that posts awful pictures of herself.
It's got the septum ring.
It offended them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, my daughter posts bad pictures. Does that mean she's a slut? And I'm thinking, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And so,
and you're advocating. You're not stopping her. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're not saying anything to her.
Is there a man in
not
her
only
life,
is
or
she a
is just a bunch
slut,
of,
you're a coward.
yeah? Is there a man in her life, or just a bunch of dogs that just like to see her do this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, or are you a coward who
Yeah.
doesn't protect her from all the dogs? Do you think that your daughter should do that?
Yeah, so one of the things we're dealing with a couple of things. One of them is women are more emotional than men. And women, you call a woman a name, and there's way more of a emotional response, an outburst of anger, and this, that, and the other. The other thing is, in our culture, we have for a long time had a double standard that you're allowed to go after the sins of men, but not the sins of women.
Yeah.
And so if I go after somebody, if some man had commented and I went to his page and it's nothing but gamer, and he's a big fat guy that just lays around on the couch gaming all day in his mom's basement, and I call that out, I'm going to have exactly 0 people that are offended by that.
Yeah.
Even if I've got guys in my church that are like, yeah, that used to be me.
Yeah.
They'll never be offended by that.
Yeah.
And so if I call him a lazy, sorry, good for nothing bum, nobody blinks an eye.
Right.
But if you call a woman a slut, then women who have either done that in the past, or young women that are on the verge of acting like that, they get offended.
Or the
upset.
dads of those kids.
The dads
or
of
the husbands of those women. I've seen it. I agree.
Yeah.
But okay, so the topic is tattoos, but I think it's just body. How does a man and a woman, are tattoos a bad idea? I think they're generally a bad idea.
I don't have any tats.
Well, I have one. I can show people if they want to see it, but it's basically it's a pinprick on my arm. When I was a little kid, I jumped off of a school bus and I had a pencil in my pocket, and it's permanently marked. I've got this dot where that graphite pencil went thunk right into my skin.
So you can telegraph.
But I'm not opposed to tats. I would have one. I've talked about doing something like, in Greek, bond servant of the Lord Jesus Christ as a strap on my arm or something like that.
My argument, I don't, and this is my opinion. Okay, I don't have a scripture to back this up. My opinion is that tattoos are not feminine. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that, who were the only people that got tattoos? Guys in the Marines. And it was a military thing.
Women did not get tattoos.
No. It started out as a military thing. And then you would see construction workers getting tattoos that, barbed wire and things that have to do with work and masculine, stuff.
Yeah.
And so over time, it's just grown to where everybody's got them everywhere.
Well, I think that so obviously tattooing is not new. I mean, it goes back into the scriptures and stuff like that. And part of the, I don't have any verses up, but tattooing yourself used to have religious significance. Mm-hmm. And so you would do that. You would mark your body basically for the gods and the dead that you are honoring or supporting, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But again, I think it's been a male dominated thing, although women do it. And then in the Middle East and stuff, you got henna designs and stuff. That's feminine. I think it's feminine. It's just a temporary tattoo, henna that they put on. Yeah. They'll do designs all over their arms. It's pretty. Men don't do that. Yeah. It's definitely a female thing.
Something like that makes more sense to me. The permanent stuff, just for men or women, it's like, how many people have regretted tattoos? Yeah. I mean, how many? It's like, it's so hard to get rid of them. Yeah. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind. It's like, why do you want to do this thing? It's like, it's almost a statement of, I'm never going to change. I'm never going to think different from how I think now. Like, I'm saying something permanent. I mean, how many guys have a woman's name like now marked out on their arm? Or,
yeah. Although, I mean, I do that for my wife.
Sure.
Put my wife's name on my neck.
Bro.
I got to tell you this last week at War College, I was, we were talking about tattoos. This had all come up, and I was telling them, you've heard of the tramp stamp? So a tramp stamp or a whale tail. It's that little tattoo.
There's a reason that's called a tramp stamp.
Yeah, I know, or the whale tail, which is, I guess a whale tail.
I've never heard of whale tail.
I guess that's when a woman wears you can see her underwear on top of her. That's what a whale tail is. Anyways, sorry to educate you guys on stuff that maybe you didn't know about, but tattoo. I was saying, instead of a tramp stamp, if I got one, it would be a gramp stamp.
A gramp stamp.
It's nasty. They were so grossed
Well, it
out.
is nasty. The idea of-
They literally lost.
Nobody wants Grandpa to pull his shirt up for a hairy back.
But I told him, I said, look, I'm 55. If I get a tattoo now, it's gonna still be crisp later. But your tattoos that you get at 19, when you're 55, they're gonna be all saggy and gray and loose.
If you want a funny story, I know a friend of mine. His grandfather had he was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And when he was in Vietnam, he got a tattoo. He got drunk one night, and the story goes that he got a panther on one arm and a naked woman on the other arm.
Okay.
But they were basically the same color. Like they were made to look similar.
Okay.
So they were like the panther was like positioned like the woman, and the woman they kind of looked similar.
Okay.
He was drunk, like I said, in Vietnam. And so he's telling his grandchildren this, years later. He's like, in his 70s now. And the grandkids go, Grandpa, which was which? And he goes, I don't remember. And so they had so faded. And of course, they weren't well done to begin with, some back alley place in Vietnam. But anyway, so I would argue that tattoos in general are just a bad idea. I don't think they're a good idea.
All right, so let me drop some stuff on you.
Okay.
So are they feminine, not feminine? I think there are some that are feminine. I've seen stuff like women that would do like little footprints on their ankles and stuff like that for every child they had. That's something you want to have as permanent. And it's not something I think you're going to regret if you got your little feet print. We have a lady in our church that I think she's got pretty freaking awesome tattoo, and it's down her arm. It's an olive branch, and every olive is one of her children. And I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't give your opinion about that, but and I know that we have ladies in our church that have tattoos.
Well, here's the thing.
A lot of ladies
When I say
tattoos.
it's my opinion, so my main thing with tattoos, if I was talking to a young lady, my main thing is I would just say, wait for your husband.
Yeah,
It's
he's
really
cool, then,
like my opinion about your tattoos, ladies, is kind of irrelevant.
yeah.
It's completely irrelevant, actually. So I may say I don't think tattoos are feminine. A woman's
cares?
husband may love them to
may
death,
like it, yeah.
may think it's feminine and attractive and love it.
Yeah,
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
exactly.
So there's men may be like, well, I don't think dresses are, I just don't like the way I prefer my wife to wear whatever, as far as my wife.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. Their opinion on that.
So you're a pastor though, and so when you say something, it carries more weight, and because it creates culture. Well, this would be blunt. It creates culture. When you say, I think that women shouldn't have tattoos, then that's going to make somebody in our congregation potentially go, well, I got tattoos now. My pastor doesn't like me.
No. Oh yeah. So that could be the perception. So I am not. How do I put this? I don't look at a woman with tattoos and just be grossed out. That's not what we're talking about. But there are men that do not want a woman with tattoos, because tattoos in a lot of cases they telegraph something.
A prior life.
Yes.
At a minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of men are not going to be. I'm talking about young Christian men in the church. They're talking about they're looking for a wife. They're looking for a young lady to marry.
They're not.
And you've got tats all over your arm.
They're not wanting to marry a woman that's been sexually active. They're not wanting to
Exactly.
marry a woman that has a past.
And like it or not, in our culture, septum rings, tattoos, those kind of things communicate sexual history.
It does.
They do. They communicate that. And so when I say I don't think they're feminine, what I'm saying is I don't think young ladies should get them, especially before they're married. If you get married, and if your husband's okay with them, fine.
Yeah.
But frankly, your husband may have opinions about where he would like them placed, or what kind of patterns, or what kind of tattoo, and all those things. And then now, if you've done it, you've done something permanent that could drive off a potential suitor. I just don't want that. I don't want that for you.
It's not wise. I think it's right for you and me as pastors to tell a 19-year-old woman to say, don't get a tattoo.
Yeah.
That's dumb. That's actually dumb.
Yep.
Because one, it hurts your prospects. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?
No, I'm not saying that every young woman with tattoos has been sleeping around. and the
Absolutely not.
girls without tattoos are totally pure.
No, we don't want to communicate
I'm
that
not
either.
saying that.
Young man needs to know.
But there is a reality of if I've got a young lady in front of me that has no tattoos, no piercings, other than the earrings or whatever, long hair,
And wears sundresses.
she's wearing a
to
dress,
church. Yeah.
versus a young lady that's got tattoos all down her arm and all these and shoulders and calves and all this stuff and piercings, lots of more piercings, lots of septum piercing. I can take it to the bank. Like if you're going to ask me which ones has a sexual history, and you ask me to bet, that's a pretty easy bet.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so what you're not saying that anybody who has tattoos you think ill of them or anything like that. No, the people that you were commenting about on that post, they actually had it was in their bio that they're a stripper. It was in their comments. It was all.
I'm not calling any woman a slut because she has tattoos or a septum ring.
Yeah, so that's like when we open our preach and stuff like that. That's one of the distinguishing marks between us and the street screechers that we have seen. Because somebody will walk by and because they have a tattoo, they'll say, "You're a whore, you're a this, you're a that," and we're like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard."
Yeah, no, I would not do that, and it never even crossed my mind that that's how I would come across. So I called her a slut because on her online presence, she's acting like one. There were so many, it's hard to remember, but I'm pretty sure she had an OnlyFans too.
I don't think she did. But
regardless, a lot of these ladies had OnlyFans. I mean, this is a thing.
It was anytime you get a post that's getting 27 million people, the vultures are going to circle and they're going to try to capitalize. That's why you got to be careful when a post goes big or whatever. When they start dropping nudes and stuff like that, it's like,
thankfully that didn't happen much, or I didn't see it much.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I blocked that, and my Twitter's pretty.
Yeah, that's the problem with something getting 10,000 views. There's a lot of comments I'll never say. I have no idea what's on there, and so
well, it spilled over to us, and we've got. I think I told you we got like 18 complaints. To the website about you to bring to attention, and some people put some screenshots of your comment, but it's without any of the context. I think that context is helpful.
And here's the other thing. I remember back when I made the post that got me in trouble years ago about slut hussies.
What? You've been in trouble before?
Which one? I remember a specific lady from our church that got on and was like, commenting, and she said, "I don't know why everybody's offended about this. I used to be a slut, and by God's grace, I'm not anymore."
Exactly.
And I think because she knows me, she knows that even though I'm calling out slut hussies, and she used to be like that, she knows that I love her family to death. I love her to death.
Absolutely.
And there's no condemnation because of that. In the same way that how many men in our church we have that have been complete and utter just disasters in their past life.
Yeah.
And by God's grace, they're not anymore.
I just want to read this verse because it's important. So this is 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 11. It says, "Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. Such were some of you, but you were washed, but you were sanctified, but you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ in the Spirit of God." So I love this verse because I look at Ref Church and we are full of fornicators, adulterers, idolaters, effeminate, former effeminate. We have homosexuals, we have pansexuals, we have former thieves, covetous, we have drunkards, revilers, swindlers. This whole gambit, and each one of them I can go, that's who you were, and they're going, that's who I was,
and you're not anymore.
I'm not that anymore. Look at my body. I've got all these tattoos on me, and it's evidence of God's grace.
Yeah.
These do prove that I was a slut. These do prove that I was rebellious, that I did all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the difficulty is that if we call out, if we make fun of effeminate men, it's like that dude's gay and we're making fun of it and mocking it. a man at our church that used to be effeminate and is not anymore shouldn't be offended by that.
He's changed his behavior and you can't see it now.
Yes.
Tattoos are different.
Well,
you carry that with you permanently unless you get a cover up, and then you have a cover up.
Sure, but like I said, I'm not mocking or I'm not condemning women for having tattoos.
Yeah,
right?
no, I understand.
Tattoos are not effeminacy will send you to hell. Tattoos won't send you to hell. So being a slut will send you to hell.
Yeah. And you're saying that those tattoos, they just maybe communicate that former life. What I'm suggesting is, let's say if I had a tattoo somehow that demonstrated my effeminacy,
yeah,
and then I carry that forever. And I think there's going to be men and women that have tattoos. I know of them. I know of several men and women in our congregation that absolutely regret the decisions they made when they were younger in terms of tattoos, but it's like this benchmark. It's this thing in time that every time I see this on my arm or whatever I've got here, it shows me that's who I was.
Yes.
But Christ has redeemed me.
It should point you to God's grace.
That's who I was, but I've been washed. I've been sanctified.
Yeah.
And you have the glory of knowing that in the new heavens and the new earth, when we receive our new body, you won't have that.
Yeah.
You're not going to have that brand mark. That'll be gone. All that the mistakes that you made.
Will they?
I think so.
I don't think I'll have a finger.
You think you're going to still be...
Just like Christ has holes in his hands inside.
Okay. I think that, well, maybe it'll be a preference. You can say, Lord, when you give me my new body, here's what I'm looking for. I like to have my finger back. I know that you still have the marks in your hands, Lord, but can you take away this tiger, whichever one was the tiger tattoo? Can you take those away?
Yeah.
You're ridiculous. I like it.
Anyway, yeah. So that's where we're at. I do not judge women that have tattoos. I have some really good friends whose wives have tattoos.
Sure.
And because they're masculine men, they don't care what I think about this. I'm not saying tattoos are sinful. I'm saying that I think that in the majority of cases, they are very unwise.
Yeah.
For young people especially, I think they're unwise because you are in a time of life where, like 10 years from now, you're going to look back at yourself and think, what an idiot. And during that time period, you do not need to be doing permanent things to your body. Yeah. That's my argument. Ladies, wait till you're married. Talk to your husband. If he's great with tattoos, go get you a tattoo.
Well, and young men, what about young men? They shouldn't get tattoos either?
I think that in the vast majority of cases, it's unwise.
Yeah.
Same for young men.
We have a lot of young men that have gotten tattoos.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's unwise. I think that it's, I think a lot of times it points to someone struggling with their identity. It's like I need something that identifies who I am.
Separates me from my family, my parents.
That or I need, like, this is who I am and I want to communicate that to everyone. Well, you being who you are communicates that to everyone.
I think the motivation changes and differs, I think, obviously relationships are important. I think a lot of people do things to mark themselves because of a relationship. And if it's not your spouse, that's a problem. I wouldn't get tattoos for my boyfriend or my girlfriend because, those are volatile situations. You may think it's permanent. I love you forever. I'm going to prove my love to you by getting this tattoo.
That just shows.
I'm putting you on my neck. That's how much I love you.
True story. I got a guy that works for me that he wanted to go to the Marines, but when he was young, he got a tattoo and part of it went up his neck. And it's not super visible. He's a black guy, and so it's not super visible. But it that kept him. He went to go to the military, and they're like, hey, "You can't go to the Marines. You got a tattoo. Anything that could be seen outside of a uniform."
Really?
Yes. So a tattoo on the neck, or like below a certain level on your arm, that will disqualify you from going to the Marines.
So if we had Rhodesian light infantry uniforms.
You couldn't have tats at all.
You couldn't have tats at all.
That's hilarious.
Bring back Rhodesian light infantry uniforms. That's all I got to say.
Man, in July it's tempting.
It is.
Anyway.
Right, anything else on this topic?
I don't know. Just...
If you got a question, just reach out to us about this. I hope this helps people on this topic.
So.
I guess I haven't given my opinion. I'm there with you. I see the wisdom of it. I don't think you should do it. I think you should wait. At least I'm not personally opposed to them. I may eventually get a tattoo. I've talked. I don't know. It's just funny. Joseph Spurgeon and I were talking about getting the Jerusalem cross logo. On an arm. Nothing big. Yeah. I'm not gonna do like what's his Hegseth and get dude. That had to hurt, man.
There's a lot. Of tats.
That's a lot of.
He's got a lot of tats.
Yeah.
And so those who think that I'm just condemning everyone who's got tats, like I'm super excited about our new Secretary of Defense.
And he's got tats.
He's covered it.
Yeah.
And I think that was unwise. Yeah. Even though the Jerusalem cross, like Deus Vult.
Yeah. Those are boss.
Yeah, those are. I love that.
On a guy.
I just don't know that I'm going to cover
that
my
on
body.
a girl.
I mean, nobody wants some girl with Deus
All right.
Vult.
If you've got a question for us, you can write to us at snakeonthetable.com, and we would be happy to engage with the topic.
God bless.